accused that you were.
Well, all of us will have to confront sometimes accusations of this kind. In any event, I was not the author. I was part of the negotiating team. Perhaps at some critical points I played a vital role, but that is different. I am not the author. Now, let me tell you from the very beginning that I was much impressed by the dedication of the book, which I have the honor to present, Reunifying Cyprus. And this dedication reads as follows. I dedicated this book to all those who believe in a reunified Cyprus, which embraces pluralism and meritocracy, and is free of ethnic nationalism, intercommunal conflict, and prejudice. Unquote. When I read this dedication, I paused to think, in the light of the current political attitudes of demagoguery and populism, I asked myself, is the author of this dedication a dreamer? A dreamer of paradise, which is not of this world? Or is he a real visionary, having a vision, an orama, as we say in Greek? Or is he to be described as an incurable optimist? Well, whatever the answer, the authors of this book are to be warmly congratulated for two reasons. First, for the originality of their idea to concentrate in one book the two diametrically opposing views as regards the Annan Plan, that was the subject matter of the referenda of the 24th of April 2004. And second, for their achievement to avoid polemics and slogans and rely on arguments and scientific analysis of the various parts of the Annan Plan. Indeed, as the authors themselves say, and I quote, this book attempts to bring into academic focus the provisions of the plan, the debate surrounding, and to provide explanations for the results of the referendums. Whilst most books offer one yes or no argument, this book takes a unique approach. The arguments of supporters and the arguments of opponents of the Annan Plan will be presented in a unique format with controversial themes thoroughly explored. Unquote. Indeed, I think they achieved this purpose in an admirable way. And it is now for the reader to choose between the two opposing views or to go on and choose or synthesize these opposing views and reach his own conclusions. The book begins by a chapter by James Carey Lindsay on the history of Cyprus peace proposals. As far as the post-Second World War era is concerned, the chapter mentions the Windsor proposal of 1948, the Enosis Union referendum of 1950, the Oka struggle, the Radcliffe Plan, the Macmillan Plan, and the Zurich and London agreements of 1959. Surprisingly, there is no reference to the Harding-Makarios-Lennox joint talks during early 1956, which to my mind was the first opportunity missed by the Greek Cypriot political leadership to eventually liberate Cyprus from the colonial rule. The Oka struggle succeeded in making the British government revisiting its attitude towards Cyprus. The never policy expressed by Hopkinson, there are some colonies which will never obtain their independence, expressed in 1954, radically changed in 1956 by the same conservative government of which Hopkinson was a member. Had the Cyprus problem been settled by compromise in 1956, there would have followed a period of 7 years extended self-government, to be followed by a new round of negotiations for a more lasting solution. That round, the new round of negotiations, would have occurred in 1963. That is to say, 2 years after the historical United Nations and the colonial resolution, at a period when the attitude of the colonial power towards the colonies was entirely different from that of 1956. And that is proved by the fact that in the 60s, most of the British colonies obtained their independence and without any struggle and without any bloodshed. The tragedy for Cyprus is that in the early 50s, the United Kingdom government had not realized that following the independence of the subcontinent, India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, the colonial era had a short termination date. By the time it realized that, it was too late for Cyprus by reason of events which had been triggered off by other forces in the middle. Following independence in 1960, the Charter refers to the constitutional proposals of 1964-74, the Action Plan, the Plaza Report of 1965, the 1968-74 negotiations. As far as the period that followed the coup d'etat and the Turkish invasion of 1974, the Charter describes vividly and lucidly the various high-level agreements, the United Nations proposals, the set of ideas, the Annan Plan. The author, following a description of the first high-level agreement, the Makarios-Dekhtash agreement, immediately observes that following that agreement and the optimism that created during the first weeks, it was soon proved that there was a very great divergence of opinion between the Greek Cypriot and the Turkish Cypriot leadership of the time. In other words, once again, it is repeated that the devil is in the details. And following that, the author, as far as the Annan Plan, ably and aptly observes, however, I quote, one of the more controversial arguments presented in favor of the plan was that inasmuch as the Annan Plan conformed to the Greek Cypriot demand for a bizonal and bicommunal federation, history had shown that when a settlement was rejected, the next one offered invariably was worse. And then the author poses the agonizing questions. In view of this, was the Greek Cypriot rejection of the Annan Plan a grave miscalculation? By rejecting the deal and entering the European Union divided, have the Greek Cypriots managed to alter the balance in the relationship with Turkey in a manner that will eventually reverse the losses over the years? Or have they made the search for a settlement even more difficult by ensuring that it is so closely tied up with Turkey's EU accession process? In short, this chapter poses the question, the answer to which is now of academics and historical interest, whether the answer to the referendum by the Greek Cypriot community improved or worsened the C2D position as Tim Potier observes in his contribution to the book under review, under the title A Comparative Analysis of the 5 Versions of the Annan Plan, and I quote, "For many Greek Cypriots, even those who are not refugees, what matters is not any actual return, but whether they have the right to return at any time of their choosing. The placing of any restrictions on that return, therefore, was bound to provoke a reaction. In light of the realities, they could not have been more unnecessary. As all these being equal, the Annan Plan did not fail because of the changes made to it or an individual event, but because Cyprus's people were not ready, and the Greek Cypriots certainly not yet ready to make the necessary compromises. Next time the latter may be, or may feel that because there may be no further next time, then such compromise may be least of all possible evils. Time will tell. Time will tell." And I quote. And then we have Kostas Karas observing that the set of ideas, he means the Gallic proposals of 1989, established the principle that any settlement would need to be approved in popular referendums. This was a recognition, he says, of democracy's triumphs in the early 90s and an acknowledgement of a historical error. Leaving aside the issue whether that was a triumph of democracy or not, we have to realize that in all documents of the United Nations, the referendum mentioned is not a single referendum, but 2 separate referenda. One for the Greek Cypriot community, one for the Turkish Cypriot community. Therefore, there can be no solution of the Cyprus problem unless at a particular point of time, both communities will answer yes to both referenda. There is nothing to guarantee that if next time the Greek Cypriot community says yes, the Turkish Cypriot community will also say yes. There is nothing to guarantee that. And therefore, the crucial task before the current political leadership and before any future political leadership, if the Cyprus problem is not solved during this political leadership, the crucial and vital question is how can we balance things and present to the people of both communities a solution that, notwithstanding disadvantages for each one of them, it will be accepted as a necessary historical settlement for peace and happiness for Cyprus. The atmosphere in Cyprus and our historical background is such that what is to be considered by a political leadership of one community to be an advantage, it is immediately considered by the political leadership or by political forces of the other community to be a defeat. Remember or bring to your memory what happened immediately after the end of the talks, if there were talks, in Turkestan. A triumphant Erdogan appeared. A triumphant Erdogan appeared before the TV camera, before the TV cameras, favoring and praising the Annan Plan, and on the other hand, a reserved, to say the least, Karamanlis appeared before the same TV cameras, having the look of a defeated politician. Now, what were the impressions of the people? Could any person pass the message that Erdogan is presenting something which is not a triumph, as a triumph, because otherwise he could not carry with him the Turkish political forces, the army, and the people of Turkey, and the Turkish Cypriots. Such an argument, which in my mind sounds logical, could not get through to people on this side. People on this side had the image. They triumphed. We have been defeated. We have to say no. So you see, these are not logical way of thinking, but it is the way the masses think, and this is taught by history for 2,000 or 3,000 years. I don't know. Now,